All right, buckle up, because you're about to hear the wildest neighbor feud that ever went down on Magnolia Lane. I'm Marcus Johnson, and all I wanted was to power wash my driveway on a perfect Saturday morning. Little did I know, that simple act would spark a war with Vivian Caldwell, the self-appointed queen of our suburban enclave, a woman who'd make a soap opera villain look tame. This isn't just a story about a clean driveway, it's about racism, revenge, and a jackhammer-wielding maniac who pushed me to outsmart her at her own game. Let's dive in. It was late May, the kind of day where the sun wraps you in a warm hug, birds are singing like they're auditioning for a Disney flick, and the air smells like fresh-cut grass. My wife, Lena, was inside, probably glued to her true crime podcast bliss, her dark sense of humor. We just moved into our dream home in Willow Creek Estates, a two-story colonial with a decent yard and a driveway that, frankly, looked like it had survived a zombie apocalypse. Oil stains, mystery grime, maybe the ghost of a disgruntled lawn gnome. It was a mess. So, I rolled out my shiny new electric power washer, popped on my safety glasses, safety first, even against suburban dirt, and got to work. The transformation was instant magic. The concrete went from grim to gleaming, and I was in the zone, picturing myself as some grime-busting superhero in my black tee and shorts. About 20 minutes in, I felt that creepy tingle, the one that says someone's staring daggers at you. I looked up, and there she was, Vivian Caldwell, my next-door neighbor, standing on her lawn like a general surveying a battlefield. Her yard was so perfect it could have starred in a gardening magazine, and Vivian herself? A late 60s tyrant with a blonde bob that looked bulletproof, dressed in a crisp navy blazer, matching slacks, and diaper-toed sandals flashing blood-red toenails. Her arms were crossed, her lips a tight line, and her gray eyes were narrowed to slits. She looked like a hawk spotting a wounded mouse, and I was the mouse. Excuse me. Her voice sliced through the hum of my power washer like a knife. I shut it off, already bracing myself. I'd met Vivian briefly when we moved in. Handed Lena and me a curt nod and a booklet of HOA rules thicker than a Bible. Not exactly a warm welcome. Morning, Vivian, I said, aiming for friendly. Just tidying up the driveway. Tidying. She sniffed, her nose wrinkling like I'd just confessed to dumping toxic waste. It's 9:30 a.m. on a Saturday. Some of us value peace and quiet. I blinked. 9:30? Most noise ordinances kick in at 7 or 8 a.m. I'm pretty sure I'm within the rules, Vivian, I said, keeping my cool. Just trying to beat the heat. Her eyes raked over me, lingering on my damp shorts and work boots with a sneer that screamed disgust. This activity, she said, flicking her wrist at my power washer like it was a dead roach, is excessively loud, and the runoff is probably toxic. You're polluting the street. I glanced at the trickle of water heading to the gutter. It was just water dirty from cleaning, sure, but no chemicals. It's just water, Vivian. High pressure, no additives. And it's my driveway. It's disturbing the neighborhood, she snapped, stepping closer, planting herself on the sidewalk right at our property line. She pointed at me, her finger jabbing the air like an angry wasp. People like you move in and think you can do whatever you please, with no respect for long-time residents. That you hit like a slap. I'm a black man, and Willow Creek was, let's say, not exactly a melting pot before Lena and I arrived. Alarm bells were screaming. People like me who maintain their property? I asked, my voice low and steady. Is there a specific rule I'm breaking? I'd be happy to check the HOA bylaws. Her face flushed a splotchy red. It's about decency, consideration, something you clearly know nothing about. She puffed up, her blazer practically vibrating with rage. Turn that machine off, or I'll take further action. I stared at her, floored by her audacity. My driveway, my morning, my right. Vivian, I said, barely hiding my exasperation, with all due respect, I'm finishing my driveway. It'll take an hour, maybe 90 minutes. Then you'll have your quiet. I turned back to my power washer, ready to resume. Big mistake. That's it, she shrieked, her voice cracking like a whip. I'm calling the police. You're creating a public nuisance and threatening me. Threatening her? By cleaning? I almost laughed, but her eyes were wild, unhinged. She yanked a phone from her blazer, fingers shaking as she dialed. You're really calling 911? I asked, incredulous. Because I'm power washing at 9:30 a.m.? They'll sort you out, she spat, phone to her ear. Yes, operator, I need to report a disturbance. An aggressive individual threatening me. Magnolia Lane, number 12. My neighbor. She shot me a venomous smirk, like she'd already won. I sighed, leaned against my power washer, and braced for the cops. This was going to be a long day. The birds kept chirping, but their song now sounded like a warning. Vivian Caldwell, racist, entitled, and possibly deranged, stood there, the self-proclaimed guardian of silent Saturdays. This, I knew, was just the beginning. 15 minutes later, Officers Bennett and Carter pulled up. Bennett was young, all polished boots and eager energy. Carter was older, with the tired eyes of a man who'd mediated too many suburban spats. Vivian practically danced with glee, rushing them with a flood of accusations before they'd even stepped out. Officers, thank goodness. This man, she jabbed her finger at me, is causing a terrible disturbance. His machine is deafening, he's been abusive, and I fear for my safety. I stood there, dumbfounded, as she painted me, Marcus Johnson, CPA and weekend grill enthusiast, as a suburban terrorist. Officer Carter approached, his face neutral. "Morning, sir. What's going on?" "Morning, officer," I said, keeping calm. I was power washing my driveway. My neighbor found it too loud. You heard the rest. Bennett was with Vivian, who was now dabbing her eyes with a lace handkerchief she'd conjured up, muttering about my aggression and disrespect. Carter glanced at my power washer, the half-clean driveway, my sweaty but non-threatening self. "It's 9:45 a.m., he said. "Cleaning your property isn't a police matter unless you're breaking a noise ordinance or spraying hazardous materials." "No hazardous materials," I said. "Just water." I checked the city ordinance. Quiet hours ended 8 a.m. on Saturdays. Vivian, overhearing, squawked, "It's the manner he's doing it. So aggressive. It's giving me a migraine." She clutched her forehead like a soap opera star. Carter sighed, a masterclass in restrained patience, and inspected my power washer. "Electric, huh? Quieter than gas models." He turned to Vivian. "Ma'am, your neighbor is within his rights to clean his driveway. The machine isn't excessively loud by legal standards." Vivian's face twisted into a mask of fury, her fake tears evaporating. "You're doing nothing? He's targeting me. This is harassment." "Ma'am," Bennett said gently, "we can't arrest someone for cleaning their property during permitted hours. If you feel harassed, you can explore civil options, but no laws are broken here." "This is an outrage," Vivian shrieked. "My taxes pay your salaries. You're supposed to protect citizens like me from riffraff." There it was, a dog whistle turned foghorn. Carter's jaw tightened. Bennett studied his notepad like it held the secrets of the universe. "MS. Caldwell," Carter said, his voice icy, "go back inside and let your neighbor finish his work. Call us if there's an actual threat or violation." Vivian looked ready to explode. "You haven't heard the last of this," she hissed, glaring at me, then the officers, before storming back to her porch, slamming her door so hard it echoed. The cops exchanged a look. "Sorry about that, Mr. Johnson," Carter said. "You've got a colorful neighbor." "You could say that," I replied. "Thanks for coming out." They drove off, leaving me with fading adrenaline and a surreal sense of what just happened. Lena poked her head out. "Everything okay?" "I saw the police." I gave her the rundown. She shook her head. "Vivian Caldwell, huh? That HOA pamphlet she gave us felt like a threat, not a welcome." "You have no idea," I muttered, firing up the power washer to finish. "Let Vivian stew." I worked another hour, the satisfying PSSHH drowning out my anger. The driveway gleamed, a small victory. The weekend passed quietly, with only a few sneaky glances from Vivian's windows. I dared to hope she'd realized how absurd she'd been. Oh, how wrong I was. Monday morning, I was working from home, on a Zoom call about quarterly reports, when a sound shattered the peace. Brr chunk chunk chunk. A jackhammer. An industrial-grade, earth-shaking jackhammer. Coming from my driveway. My colleague Sarah frowned. "Marcus, you got construction going on." "Not that I know of," I stammered, heart pounding. "Excuse me, team." I muted myself, yanked back the curtain, and froze. There, in the middle of my pristine driveway, was Vivian Caldwell. Safety goggles, dust mask, neon yellow work gloves, and a massive orange jackhammer. She was plunging into my concrete. Chunks flew everywhere, a jagged trench forming. She wasn't just crazy, she was a supervillain. I stood paralyzed for 10 seconds, then snapped out of it, bolting outside. Phone already dialing 911. "Vivian." I roared over the demonic noise. What the hell are you doing? She paused, lifted the jackhammer, and shoved her goggles up, her blonde Bob Askew eyes gleaming with mania. Just making improvements, she yelled. This driveway was an eyesore, and your runoff was damaging its integrity. I'm helping. She hefted the machine and slammed it down again. You're a chunk. My beautiful driveway, my hours of work, was being obliterated by a spite-fueled septuagenarian. Officers Carter and a new guy, Officer Hayes, arrived with an air of, you've got to be kidding me. Vivian was still at it, though she was more wrestling the jackhammer than mastering it. The damage was brutal, deep gouges and craters like a meteor strike. She shut off the machine, panting, a crazed smirk on her face. Officers, good you're here. I'm addressing a safety hazard. This driveway was corrosive. Carter stared from the wreckage to me, then back to her, his jaw twitching. Ma'am, are you saying you rented a jackhammer and deliberately damaged Mr. Johnson's property? Damage? Vivian gasped, clutching imaginary pearls under her gloves. I'm improving it. For property values. I gaped. She's destroying my driveway. I croaked. It's practically new. I sealed it last year. Lena pulled up then, saw the chaos, and her jaw dropped. Vivian, what have you done? She demanded. Vivian drew herself up. Upholding neighborhood standards. Dear, something your husband can't grasp. By jackhammering our driveway. Lena's eyes blazed. Enough, MS. Caldwell, Carter snapped. You're coming with us. Her bravado cracked. For what? I'm the victim. Malicious destruction of property, Hayes said, stepping forward. Hands behind your back. Seeing Vivian, blonde Bob Askew, handcuffed and led to the cruiser, sputtering about discrimination and sudden ailments, was unreal. As they drove off, Lena hugged me. Are you okay? I think so, I said, dazed. This is Karen Prime on steroids. We surveyed the damage, deep, costly gouges. Carter stayed to take my statement. Mr. Johnson, in 20 years, I've never seen this. Jackhammer revenge. Get repair quotes and consider a restraining order. Already planning on it, I said. And cameras. Lots of cameras. Lena and I stared at the ruined driveway. What now? She asked. We document everything, I said, resolve hardening. We fix it, and we make Vivian regret crossing the Johnsons. I called our insurance, who were baffled. She did what? Then contractors. Explaining it was absurd. Yes, my neighbor. Yes, a jackhammer. No, I don't know why, except she's evil. One contractor, Tony from Tony's Top Concrete, laughed. A little old lady jackhammering out of spite? That's legendary. I gotta see this. He came out, whistled at the damage. Full tear out and repar. Big bucks. But, he added, you could upgrade stamped concrete, wider layout. Turn her crazy into your masterpiece. That sparked an idea. Vivian wanted war? I'd rebuild better. I hired a lawyer, MS. Priya Patel, who listened to my saga with rapt attention. Mr. Johnson, this is egregious. We've got a slam-dunk case for damages, a restraining order, and we should investigate her HOA history for patterns. The HOA angle was new. I'm new here, I admitted. Let's dig, she said, eyes glinting. That night, our other neighbor, Mr. Thompson, a quiet retiree, stopped by. Heard the commotion. Vivian's been a nightmare for years, petty complaints about everything. This is next-level crazy. Mrs. Garcia from across the street chimed in. She reported my wind chimes for being too festive. Loca. Suddenly, we weren't alone. Vivian had tormented everyone. Vivian was released on bail, her pillar of the community status and a sob story about stress, keeping her out of jail. She stayed with her sister, her house dark. I went full Fort Knox doorbell camera, front and backyard cameras, even one angled at her property line, all 4K, cloud-backed. Big Mike from Secure Tech installed them, chuckling. Jackhammer ladies got guts. Wrong kind, but guts. MS. Patel fast-tracked a restraining order. Vivian couldn't come within 100 feet of us or our property. The civil suit for damages followed, covering repairs, distress, everything. Patel was confident. Photos, police reports, her audacity, it's airtight. I requested 5 years of HOA complaints by or against Vivian. The secretary, Brenda, hesitated until I mentioned subpoenas. A thick envelope arrived, revealing Vivian as the HOA's complaint queen, satellite dishes, Christmas lights, skateboarding teens, barking dogs, 2 lavender mailboxes. She'd also been cited for her roses encroaching on Thompson's yard and spraying herbicide on a kid's wildflowers. Lena dove into the HOA bylaws, spotting Vivian's own violations like an unapproved chain-link fence at her property's back. Checkmate. Tony's crew started the driveway demolition loud, glorious chaos. I stood on my porch, coffee in hand, imagining Vivian hearing the rumble and panicking. Lena and I filed HOA complaints about Vivian's fence and overgrown shrubs, polite but razor-sharp, citing her beloved bylaws. The HOA, embarrassed by the jackhammer fiasco, sent violation notices. Vivian returned, skulking along her lawn's edge to avoid the restraining order, glaring at my new driveway as it took shape wider, smoother, with sleek gray pavers. She couldn't speak to me, but her loathing was a physical force. I smiled, sipping iced tea, savoring her silent rage. Then came the survey. Thompson gave me an old property map hinting that part of Vivian's prize azalea bed was on my land. I hired Mr. Whitaker, a meticulous surveyor. On survey day, Vivian watched from her porch, vibrating with suspicion as Whitaker's team planted orange flags right through her azaleas. A 2-foot strip was mine. She let out a choked gasp, her face scarlet. "Mr. Johnson," Whitaker said, handing me the certified map, "you can remove any encroachments." I thanked him, grinning at Vivian's near apoplexy. I didn't just remove her azaleas. I hired Artistic Landscapes, led by a suave foreman, Claude. They built a stunning 2-foot stone wall along the property line, elegant, permanent, a middle finger in slate gray. They carefully dug up the trespassing azaleas, replanting them in my backyard. Vivian watched, mute with horror, as her floral empire was bisected. The wall was a masterpiece, making my yard look like a magazine spread. Vivian retreated, defeated. The settlement came next. Vivian's lawyer offered a fat check covering all costs: driveway, wall, legal fees, distress plus an NDA, and non-disparagement clause. I took it, keeping the restraining order. Vivian's world was crumbling: HOA fines, legal bills, a shoddy new fence. Then she got pettier. Camera footage caught her dumping leaves on my wall at 3 a.m., muttering racist jabs. I logged it. Then her sprinkler malfunctioned, soaking my porch in marigolds. More footage. MS. Patel smirked. "She's building our contempt case." The final straw was the flowers. My marigolds near her property line started dying, yellowed, curled, poisoned. Night vision footage showed Vivian, hooded, spraying something at 2:30 a.m. My blood boiled. This wasn't petty, it was evil. I bagged soil samples, rallied neighbors for a watch, and Primrose Lane became a surveillance hub. MS. Patel was livid. "This is property damage with a chemical agent." I filed a police report. Carter and Bennett watched the video, incredulous. Poisoning flowers? What's next, locusts? They visited Vivian, who slammed her door after a heated exchange. The DA took the poisoning seriously. Vivian's lawyer, panicked, offered a deal. She'd sell her house and leave Willow Creek if we dropped new charges. It was exile. I took it, with a 90-day deadline and the restraining order intact. A for sale sign appeared, then sale pending. Moving trucks came, and Vivian, diminished, left in a taxi, her final glare empty. The Patels moved in kind, vibrant, with kids and a dog. Raj power washed his driveway one morning, waving. Not too loud. I laughed. "Power wash away, man. It's your driveway." Vivian's reign ended, her malice uniting our street. My driveway gleamed, the wall stood proud, and my marigolds bloomed. The craziest revenge wasn't destruction, it was outsmarting a tyrant with logic, law, and community, turning her hate into my triumph. Vivian wanted to ruin me. Instead, she funded my upgrades and freed Magnolia Lane. And that's the sweetest victory of all. Word count, 6,800 characters.